It's the anniversary challenge. And our hero here is Daryll. Very interesting character, although haven't really found an awful lot of use for him. We're going to give him the pouvoir flag and keep him in his poncho because he just looks completely ridiculous, and that's just great. Because his leadership trait affects melee characters, we'll have his teammates be melee characters. Connie's always got to be in there. Tyrese, yeah, no, that I just think he's absolutely fantastic. I am upgrading that S-pole, so soon I'll be using that with my warriors. But let's just check out this set of missions. Let's just see if there's any tactics, any strategies that we can use to help us get through. So this one. Now this is, I think it's typically a lot easier with a ranged character. Obviously I've gone melee characters right here. I regret nothing. But yeah, being able to shoot through the wire, there's definitely a strategy whereby you can rope-a-dope them. They can get at you just by coming straight at you, or you can make them go to the top and bottom of the map. They have to go around if they do that, and that makes them spend an awful lot of time that they cannot use getting at you. So that's kind of what you want to do. Keep it long range, have weapons with a wide arc, you can hit lots and lots of targets. Slowing them down, it's a great map for that kind of thing. Igniting them, very, very handy, because you've got lots of time for them to burn. Yeah, and it's, I don't think that that's too challenging a map for anybody. It's not a great one for trying to use Huntsman Daryll's leadership trait, because there's not really anywhere to go, there's not anywhere to run by. But if you use characters like Tyrese, for example, make it so that the walkers are definitely going through his debuff circles, maybe Beth, where you know, she has that skill where she creates the circles that causes more damage. Connie's always a good bet. But generally speaking, just having some ranged characters that can ignite targets, hit lots of targets, stun them, because there's lots of stunnable enemies on there. It's not too tricky. Fish in a barrel. Alright, I mean, I'm gonna just, because I would be saying, hey, use a ranged character. Let's just swap to that, shall we? This is what I recommend doing. It's, yeah, fish in the barrel. I've made my feelings about this particular mission known. I think a better weapon might have been the assault rifle for Daryll. And that's just because we could have just stunned a whole bundle of targets right from the very off, because of course scouts are starting charged. This is one where there's not an awful lot to say, I don't think. You got to have some powerful characters with some powerful weapons. If you've got anything with even a slight arc, you're going to be hitting a lot of targets. Crippling and snaring, very, very useful. Keep them where they are. If you're really, really struggling, think tools. Throw a flare in, distract them. Throw a stun grenade in, stun them. Standard grenade, just finish them off if you manage to hurt their hit points. I think characters like Guardian Carol and Yumiko are good. Get those multiple attacks in. Survivalist Rick, I suppose, would start with charge points, and he, of course, causes a lot more damage with his charge points. It's a mission which, I mean, you just stand there and you gun the walkers down. It's not one that I'm crazy about. If you have any specific problems with that mission, or any others, in fact, just say. I'm sure that I or somebody else can come up with a die-hard strategy that will help you out. Barbecue, kill all the walkers. Well, I was committed to using melee characters, but these missions really benefit ranged characters. This is quite a large map, and we've got some big, scary stuff on there. Being able to slow those things down is very, very handy. Setting these targets alight, very useful because you've got plenty of time for them to burn. And you can rope dope them, especially once you've taken out these initial walkers. The ones that start on the map. They're slow, you can slow them down with crippled even more, maybe ensnare them, so keeping at range, just reaching out and striking them from far just seems to work pretty well. Again, having strong characters, having tip-top gear kind of does help. You can get it without any kind of unique named weapons. I think that having high-powered on any shooter weapons you're going to use is going to be a big benefit. Anything that will slow down or ensnare the enemies, incendiary, you've got plenty of time for that to work as well. If you do struggle because some of those tanks start off close to you, if you've got no other option, think about using the Walker's Mask or a flare or something to distract them, get them away from you. Not really a map that I feel really uses Huntsman Daryll's skills. You'd be looking at maps where you're trying to get to the exit, that kind of thing, but there you go. You're going to want to use him still for the most part. Oh, now this one might actually use melee character's skills. Definitely putting Glenn in there. I think you're probably better off with that. You have that. Yeah, let's see. Now this one might actually use our melee characters to good effect. Oh, it's this one. Right, okay. Let's get a couple of you killed just to get the threat counter down. Of course, as soon as we start opening this, some bad guys will appear out of that twitching corpse pile. It's 3 walkers at a time. That's, you know, so that's quite a lot of them. Come on, I want to use this skill at least once. Oh, flippin' heck. So you've got to be able to take out these walkers. Loads of them appear. And you better be ready to deal with them. Now, when I say deal with them, you don't necessarily have to kill them. You just got to keep them off your back until this is done. Glenn actually is perhaps not a good character to bring along. I thought this was a different mission. Connie, definitely, because she could be interacting with that box or the gate. And as long as everybody's still cuddled up next to her, by the end of the turn, you're still going to benefit from her better together trait. Yumiko, as I've mentioned before, if a ranged character is interacting with something like that box or the gate, and they are in range of and can see a target that Yumiko is shooting at, they will also still turn around and shoot it, even though they're doing something else. So those are 2 great characters for missions like this. Again, you don't need to kill all those walkers, you just need to slow them down, distract them, whatever, until you can get out. Always bear in mind the objective. Kill the boss walker. And now this time I'm gonna... Come on, let's use a melee team. Oh gosh, yeah, so actually, I mean, using... Keep saying this. Using ranged characters can be a benefit on this mission as well. The reason that I say that is because you've got all of those lovely, lovely barrels that you can blow up. It makes short work of the walkers that start on the map. Oh dear. Yeah, I was worried that that was going to happen. Again, I thought this was a different mission to the one that it actually was. So alright, we'll go back. We'll retry it again. So yeah, lots of missions on this one where I think ranged characters are far more beneficial. We'll just put that to the test, shall we? Come on, Daryll, you're not getting out of it that easy. Let's use that one. I mean, 4 hours? Why would a survivor need 4 hours to heal? Maybe if you have a lower level hospital, I guess. Okay then, so... that was easy. That too was pretty easy. Yeah, ranged characters again make this one pretty easy. It's not massively different from fish in a barrel. Now we do have a threat counter. So when this gets to a much higher difficulty and the walkers actually become pretty tough, you might want to bear that in mind. Perhaps if you are going to use Daryll, give him a weapon which has threat reduction, so you don't have to worry about a whole bundle of walkers coming in behind you. Again, not a map that specifically uses his traits to good effect. At least these missions, they're pretty quick to complete. Definitely benefit from ranged characters with wide arc weapons. Okay, now I'm keeping my fingers crossed that we finally got a mission that might actually make use of his leadership trait. I think I remember this one. God, the weather's all over the place. Now, I think I'm going to put something to the test. Bad guys spawn out of this particular spot. Now, if we stand here, we wait until that threat counter hits 0. Can quickly just do that, nip out and do that. I think that they stop spawning. I just want to put that to the test. We've got walkers spawning up there from the lake as well. Now let's just see, shall we? So I believe that's a thing. Yeah, there you go. So that's a little something that you can do. Stop the walkers from spawning, and then they no longer spawn after the threat counter is hit 0 for the first time. That's kind of nice to know. It means that we're taking this mission at a pretty slow pace. That's okay, there's no rush. I think this is perhaps a pretty good group to have on this mission. And yeah, I mean, I think that that's a pretty valid way of dealing with these walkers. Stun block them. Wait until the threat counter has hit 0. And then they just don't spawn that way anymore. If you can keep the threat counter down, then you're kind of chuckling, aren't you? You don't have anything to worry about. Take it at its own pace. There is some scope for actually using Huntsman Daryll's leadership trait. The only problem is that if you did, and you used it to get past a walker, you might find yourself in a pack of walkers, which you don't really want to do. Now, is that all of the missions? Yes, we're right back at the start. I mean, let's just quickly give this a crack with a ranged team, and I'll show you just basically the method that I think works best. Slightly dependent, again, on whether you got these characters and whether you've got sort of the equivalent equipment, but the strategy still works. You got a ton of space to work with. setting these guys on fire makes them feel so much squishier. Mercer, with a cookie powered charge attack, becomes monster. And if you are struggling when they do get a lot tougher, and they do get tougher, lead them around the top, lead them around the bottom, split the forces, and then you can bottleneck them, you can slow them down, you can do anything you want to them. But there you go, that's the anniversary challenge. Some interesting missions here, at least they're quick, even things like fishing the barrel. But some of them could be a little bit tricky. If you do have any dramas, let me know. But as ever, thank you very much for watching, and I'll catch you on the next one.